And welcome back to Who Would Win. Today's Who Would Win comes to us from Pac-Mania 13. You asked the question, who would win a fight? I kind of got, after rereading this guy's personality, I kind of understood why he chose this combination, but Iru or Enel from One Piece versus him from Powerpuff Girls. Nah, the character, his name apparently is Enel. I literally typed in the character's name you gave, but Enru, Enru. That's how it would be spelled. Is actually just Enel. So either way, I'll put it in as Enel, but I know exactly what you're talking about. He does have a god. He has a very big god complex, and therefore thinks he himself, a ruler above all. So kind of makes sense comparing it to him, who also has that kind of mindset. Going with him, I've used him on Who Would Win before, and him is in essence, he is. It's never proven, but he is the devil, pretty much. He is the devil in the my Powerpuff, the Powerpuff Girls universe. Ooh, excuse me. And being the devil, he has God knows how much abilities, including immortality, dark magic, side-shifting, shape-shifting, resurrecting the dead, monster summoning, illusion casting, mind control, empathic influence, eye beams, and vulnerability. You name it, he pretty much has. Warp reality. He literally can do anything he wants. So the question becomes then, how do the Powerpuff Girls beat his ass most of the time? Well, it's a matter of he's not using his full power a lot of the times. He's also susceptible to, being outsmarted, things along those lines. So it's just a matter of what you can do to outwit him, outsmart him. Just like with, say, Pennywise, he's also susceptible to negative emotions influencing and increasing his power. Therefore, things like, love, heroics, kindness, actually weaken him to some extent. So it's a bit of a tough call here. That being said, he's also has supreme dislikes, including the Powerpuff Girls themselves. Used to have one for Mojo Jojo. Failure, love, defeat, and the Gangrene Gang due to them calling Mojo Jojo and himself in one of them, in one episode. His abilities, again, go well beyond what I just listed, including having things like acid spit, energy blast, and vulnerability, as I said. Like he's been punched, the Powerpuff Girls have punched him several times and he didn't feel any of it. He can fly, teleport, resurrect the dead, as I said, dream manipulation, reality warping. There was a point where he actually, I think, warped reality to the point where he manipulated the future. Possession, he possesses inanimate objects. Animation, bring inanimate objects to life. He's the devil. Yeah, so it's just that because he's a devil on a kid show about 2 or 3, how old are the Powerpuff Girls supposed to be? Like 6 or 7, 8, something like that? Basically, girls in preschool. That's the gist. So, preschool age girls, as superheroes, you're going to have to pull your punches a little bit. But yeah, he is still insanely powerful and very difficult to defeat when he's on his A game. Enel, or Eneru, depending on your pronunciation of his name, or spelling of his name, quite frankly, thinks himself an invincible god. He believes himself to be a divine immortal being with authority to do and take and destroy as he pleases. He basically then ran across Luffy, who was his natural, weakness, rubber against electricity, and beat his ass. So, but that being said, Eneru is still a powerful individual. He's pretty lazy, though. He doesn't take many things that seriously. Even in combat, he's very overconfident, so he doesn't. He can be taken off guard without too much difficulty. If you get him in the right mood, I suppose is the best way to put it. But still, he's still very powerful and very dangerous. Although he appears weaker than many characters as powerful as he is, due to the fact that Luffy complete immunity to most of his lightning-based attacks, was even able to strike Enel thanks to his rubber powers. But that said, he's still really powerful. He is very physically strong, despite the fact he's kind of lazy, having easily caught an out-of-pace giant gold bear or gear of the Maxim Arc and put it back with one hand, which is very impressive. He's got mechanical expertise, which would not matter in this fight. His Devil Fruit is a Logia type, which means it's the elemental base of some kind, and his entire body is now actually composed of this. It allows him to transform into create and control lightning. It lets him use it as very lightning-based attacks, either by channeling lightning through his body or by striking the drum on his back, which are nearly all named after thunder gods from various cultures. When amplified by his ship, they were shown to easily destroy an island, which means he can at least destroy an island. It also gives him the ability to restart his heart after being near death, as long as he does not have any fatal wounds that could bypass his Logia's power, as well as increase his mantra to omniscient levels. Now, his mantra essentially has to do with his hockey. His hockey essentially is, if I'm not mistaken, observation hockey. If I'm not mistaken, it's a form of hockey that grants the user a sixth sense. Yep, that's exactly. It's an observation hockey, and his is on a supremely high level because he can essentially know what everyone is doing on the island he's on or what in the area he's on, because he can detect electromagnetism in the air, in the atmosphere. So basically, he can have a level of omniscience throughout in his area and know everything that everyone's doing. Can't read minds, obviously, but still insanely impressive. Because of this ability, the Gorogoro no Mi is one of the few devil fruits that is regarded as invincible, though in reality, Logia fruits are far from truly invincible. He is capable of creating and using his devil fruit to raise the temperature of gold using electricity, and then manipulating and shaping it using electromagnetism, completely building his trident and personal flying arc with his power, which is insane when you think about it. And in his miniseries, it's suggested that he does not need to breathe and can survive outside the atmosphere, which would actually make some sense given the fact that he's composed of electricity, which is electricity is a very different type of element than something like earth or water or lava or even fire. Though fire and electricity share some common traits as they are both plasmas. But still, electricity is a very unique type of energy. Or type of element. Again, with the observation hockey, he can pretty much know everything that's going around him. He cannot predict inert random attacks, though, as Luffy managed to bypass his mantra by bouncing his punches off a nearby wall to prevent him, and thus Enel from knowing where it would land. Enel failed to discern the presence of Luffy inside a giant snake, Nola, by detecting him after he escaped. Only detecting him after he escaped. He also does not make the user any faster than normal. So the user's ability to dodge attacks is dependent on their physical speed. But since he is made of lightning, yeah, his physical speed would be pretty obscene. And then he also wields a weapon. It's a gold trident, a gold staff, and he's adept at using it, dealing powerful strikes to his opponents. Basically, he uses it as a bludgeoning weapon. Although he can obviously channel electricity through there and use it a bit more effectively. If these two were to meet in battle, who would win? Him or Enel? Well, I think him, I'm doing that voice every time I say his name, would love screwing around with Enel and basically enjoy dismantling this false god, if you will. The problem with that is that Enel is... Like, if you were to throw Enel into the Powerpuff Girls universe and even put him against the Powerpuff Girls, the Powerpuff Girls wouldn't be able to do, unless they figured out that they need to put him in water or figured out how to, like, maybe use rubber or something like that, like cover themselves in rubber. Unless they were able to do that, and even then, he could probably produce enough, because even an insulator can be overtaxed. You can get enough electricity in one area or in large enough amounts to overwhelm a rubber insulator. It just depends on how much electricity and how much rubber. The reason why Luffy was not affected is because his entire body is living rubber at that point. So there's no way the electricity was going to hurt him. Whereas if you were to overwhelm, or if you were to say take some rubber as large as my fist, but use enough electricity to say blow up a building with pure electricity, that rubber fist, that fist size, that fist size rubber isn't going to do much. In fact, you might actually incinerate the damn thing if you have enough electricity to literally blow up a building. And I don't mean like it caused an explosion because it like hit gasoline or something. I mean enough electricity in terms of sheer power to blow a building up. That's essentially what he is in some respects. So I imagine Enel could probably whip the Powerpuff Girls pretty hard, quite frankly. The question is, how does he stand up to someone like him? Well, I think he would be able to annoy him just as much as him would annoy him. Wow, this God. That's a sentence. He would be able to annoy him as much as him would be able to annoy Enel. God, sentence structures. I mean, and technically speaking, that sentence makes sense when you think about it. He would be able to annoy him just as him would be able to annoy him. That sentence technically makes sense. But I digress. So I think the problem right off the bat, though, is that him doesn't actually have a lot of attacks that would actually be able to hurt him. Like any physical damage, he wouldn't be able to dish out to Enel. Because Enel could just, phase through it and just, he's not hurting him physically. Hockey can bypass that, but him can't use hockey. Energy Blast might be able to like affect his body in a negative way because it is still energy, so enough energy to maybe overload his actual positron, negatron, positrons, electrons, whatever it is, neutrons, protons, all that good stuff. But his electrons, if you will, the electrons that make up his body now. You could maybe see him blowing, like really disrupting him, but because he's made of electricity, he can move and turn into electricity. He can move fast enough to avoid most of those shots. But him also has severe invulnerability, where super strength didn't even phase him from the Powerpuff Girls, who have enough super strength to lift buildings without problems. The fact that he can manipulate reality, that could be an issue that Enel would be facing, and Enel would be filled with negative emotions, which would empower him. So the question is, who's going to win this fight, duking it out between the two of them? It's going to be a lot of back and forth because one is definitely more of a fighter in Enel than him is. Him is the devil. He prefers to stay out of things if he can, but he's not afraid to get involved if he's given the option to get his hands dirty. He's not afraid to get his hands dirty. He just prefers to hide in the shadows. So it's a bit of a weird comparison. If I were to say how this fight's going to break down, they'll be going back and forth. Most of him's effects aren't actually going to be doing, or attacks aren't going to be doing much until he eventually just says, all right, screw it. Starts messing with reality to some extent. Maybe even turning the electricity into, like, I don't know, pudding or something. So now he's the Logia pudding fruit. That would be, I mean, there's a mud fruit. So I guess that's pretty much a pudding fruit. Mud and pudding have very similar consistency. There's a cracker fruit. So I don't know. There might be a pudding fruit. But I think him is going to ultimately take the win because he won't tire out. I mean, technically speaking, neither of these guys would tire out for a long time, but only one of them is still human. Like Enel, for all of his power, and he is extremely powerful, is still human. He does still have physical limitations and can still tire out, whereas him technically can. I think we have technically seen it happen, but it's through different circumstances, like his power's waning, and someone's tricking him to lose his abilities. He's not able to feed off negative emotions. Not to say that's the source of his power, but it strengthens him. Whereas positive emotions will more than likely drain him. So him can frankly just outlast Enel. That's the big problem here, is that Enel has nothing that can really do any lasting harm to him. And him can just outlast him long enough to tire him out and then go in for the kill or take control of his body or something. So if I were to say who wins this fight, I think the winner is him. But let me know what you think. Do you think it's him or do you think it's Enel? Do you think there's a legitimate way Enel could win? Because I'll be honest, I don't see many avenues for Enel just given his own personality. If this was someone like, say, I'm going to throw random names out here real quick. Captain America, Enel, All Might, hell, Naruto. People whose positivity usually outshines the negativity. then you might be able to work out a scenario where they can legitimately win. But unfortunately, because he's already a negative attitude person in general, he's already full of himself, and him would feed on that. It would just strengthen him even further. Add on the fact that his abilities, while very impressive, don't really stack up to him. So again, I've got to go him. Well, let me know if you. I'm done. Let me know if you think who do you think wins in the comments below. Thanks for watching though. Hope you enjoyed. Like, comment, share, subscribe. As always, if you want us to review something, put in the comments below. Let us know. We'll do a review of it at some point. I've not going to be doing a death battle prediction because we only have one half of the death battle prediction today. We know it's going to be Lord Beerus from Dragon Ball Super, which I'm glad Beerus finally gets to step in the ring. First off, I hope he wins because I love Beerus. But B, I'm wondering who he's going to be facing off against. My money is on one of two people. It's either Saitama or Sailor Galaxia. And I actually did know who would win with Sailor Galaxia, so if that is in fact the case, I'll tell you what my prediction for that is. But they're not returning till August, so we got about 2 months of no death battle predictions. So sad, but oh well. But I did get this one right. Woohoo! Sadly, it was the 3 I actually got right this season so far. They were all the most obvious ones I could have guessed. That's the biggest problem. It's like, yeah, I got them right, but most people were calling that one to win. So, anyway, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. I'll see you next time. Later.